Hey, this is Jim Bass with NDI November. Thanks for joining us for another special show and one of my favorite topics to talk about. I love it when we have the opportunity to bring in our system integrators who are out in the field installing NDI workflows for their customers and talk to them about NDI technology. Today, we're going to talk about NDI workflows for live production with Key Code Media. And invited onto the show with us is Kevin Bruce from Key Code. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Excellent. You know, Kevin, I really wanted to invite you onto the show because I know Key Code Media is a top U.S. reseller and systems integrator. You guys are winning awards with New Tech time and time again. And with New Tech, you're doing a lot of these NDI installs, a lot of the NDI workflows for your customers. So I wanted to talk a lot about that today, highlight some of the stuff that you guys are doing with NDI, and really feature Key Code Media and some of the case studies that you guys have available. So we're going to talk about live production. We're going to talk about how you guys are doing it. But let's start by talking about the wide range of customers that you guys are working with.
Oh, well, we have just about anyone and everyone is using NDI. And we're seeing it, we're deploying it every chance we can get. It's saving people a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of install, and easy to deploy. One of our great examples of a recent case study we just completed is Canton City School Television.
Okay.
Their whole school and campus have all gone NDI.
Wow.
So they're ripping out every SDI cable, which was the vision from the beginning with NDI,
Sure.
and they're replacing it all with NDI cameras and using a TriCaster TC2 Elite.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, Kevin. That's exactly what Tarif from NDI.TV said during his keynote address. The original goal of NDI technology was to replace SDI and not only give you a replacement for that point-to-point cable, but allow your cameras to now be available anywhere on the workflow. So I know we're going to talk a little bit about that with this installation, with the Canton schools. And here what we're doing is we're looking at how they're broadcasting all of their meetings and just like their briefings using the NDI technology, right?
Exactly. So the goal was at the school to have one central control room,
Okay.
which, as I mentioned, was a TC2 Elite. They have a 4-stripe panel, and they wanted to connect up their council meetings. They wanted to do their sports. They wanted to be able to produce their sports through this one location. They also wanted to have the students run their own television program. So when the students walk in and when they're getting taught the class, it's just like being in a real world environment. And using NDI brings them that. So not only can they can also then do all their assembly meetings. So if they have concerts, band, their plays, anything, all that content can be streamed
Yep.
right out of their one location, and it can all be collated. And as well as then, if they're doing their morning meetings, they can send that NDI to each of the rooms and morning announcements or weekly shows.
That's
So
great.
and a lot of it is all produced by the students.
That's phenomenal. You know, bringing the students into the production is such an integral thing when you're selling to a school and when you're talking about these workflows being used in education. Not only are you talking about the student newsroom and the broadcast, but you can also take those cameras out onto the sporting events, cover the footage from the basketball courts or even the football fields, and allow the students to become active participants in broadcasting these sporting events. So in this installation with the Canton City Schools, they're doing the sports broadcasting also, aren't they?
Exactly. They're doing it all. So they have, yeah, everything is from from exactly. So they got with their football teams, they're out there. They got, I believe, 3 or 4 NDI PTZs out
Okay.
there. So everything's hauled back to one comfortable control
Right.
room instead of freezing out in the middle of a field trying to do it. So yes, everything they have a nice. Their CG is all NDI.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, and the students run it all. The teachers really want to take a hands-off approach, and as many people know, is the students gravitate towards production in
Yep.
particular. They just sit down and they just get
Yep.
it, and that's what's great about this. It's not there's not a lot of uh, learning
Sure.
curve, and and then as far as deployment goes, you don't need miles and miles of cable to interconnect all of these different locations and cameras and be able to route them anywhere. So they could be having this live game in their, out on the field, and then route that to potentially projectors and things and overflows in their auditorium, or bring them in as, for any other event.
Absolutely.
And going out live to their channel. They have a Roku channel. They have a cable channel. They have their just from their website. So that's the power of bringing all these different sites together and using all these different sources together quickly and easily.
Absolutely. And, you know, I know you guys do a lot of work with schools and with educational installs. And I think one of the things that's really great to point out is when we talk about a school like this, they're doing sports broadcasting. They're doing, you know, a mini government meeting with just their town council meetings, their school board meetings, and then they're doing performance and staging from the auditorium. And they're doing all of this from, like you said, a single control room where the students are learning real world workflows and real world production, a skill set that is going to serve them well beyond the classroom. Whether they do want to pursue a career in sports broadcasting or staging productions, it all starts with telling a story. And the more cameras you can put throughout an installation, the more you can make those cameras available on the production system itself, the easier it's going to be to tell a story. And I think that's what the students really relate to the most.
Exactly. And getting that going early on in the career and making it
Yep.
fun, because as soon as they see how easy it is, it makes it fun. So when we're not spending a lot of time for setup, we can just get up and go, and it just when the teachers are excited about it, the students get excited about it. It just doesn't become like another class. It's something that they look forward to every day.
Yep.
Um, I deployed this at many high schools, not quite on this level, but even in the smaller studios that are getting refreshed now. They're 10 years, 15 years old, and we're getting this refresh, and the teachers are excited about it because now they get to work with the new technology and they get to bring the uh, the students along with it. And everyone has a phone, with a camera on it,
Right.
and NDI, that phone can be an NDI
Sure.
source. So being able to engage in newer technology, so it looks new,
Yep.
right? It's that thing that the students want to see. Um, it gets them excited, and it's like, oh, I have this in my pocket. I can do this right now. And then, things like OBS and all those other kind of freeware gets them excited at home. And everyone wants to be a YouTube
Yeah.
star, and it's another way of reinforcing how fun and exciting live production can be, and keeps them engaged.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great case study. And I know this case study is available on Ketone Media's website. So our viewers can definitely go check that out, learn a little bit more about the install with the Canton City Schools. But Kevin, you spoke about upgrading and installing studios and getting into the NDI workflow. What are some of the things that you and your team have to consider when you start going along that route?
Yeah, the first thing is make become friends with IT, and especially at a site where we're upgrading, or even if we're starting from scratch. Um, NDI is new to many IT
Yep.
professionals, and they're like, "What is this? Is it gonna crush my bandwidth on my network? What do I got to do? How many VLANs do I have to create? Who's managing it? Do I have to manage it? All those things." And especially at a school or even corporate, adding another layer to what IT already has to deal with. Um, you, we want to make it as easy as possible, and as soon as you bring them in and let them understand the topology and how it works, and the the design, we could segregate all the NDI off the campus network, or we can bring it all together. The thing is allowing them to understand. We had with um, many clients, what we do is we bring them in early, we have them understand, and if necessary, we'll even engage with new tech so they can give them from the horse's mouth
Right.
exactly what it means when this is going to go on their network, and then how was it going to be deployed? TCP, UDP, multicast, that sort of thing. Those are all the questions that they want to
Sure.
know. Now, and then so now we've made friends with IT, and they're on board with us. The other thing we have to make sure of, as we know, NDI comes in a couple different flavors. There's NDI, which is high bandwidth, that's or also known as full NDI, and then there's the HX version of NDI. And NDI HX is now on version 3, which honestly is perfect for remote deployments. It runs only around 80 megabits per second. The image quality is great and has very low latency. Um, it's on par with full NDI.
Right.
So the key there is, as long and sorry, get ahead of myself because I get so excited about this stuff. NDI HX3 right now, the hardware, not all cameras and devices are sending out an NDI HX3 stream. So keep that in mind when you're looking at cameras and other sorts of devices. Um, but all TriCasters have that built in with the upgrade. So right now, many things are NDI HX2, which is great, but not as good as HX3, of
Yep.
course. But HX3 is where you want to be in remote production. It's only 80 megabits per second, so that means you can do at least 8 different NDI HX3 sources over a gigabit network.
Absolutely. And
Barring,
I know NewTek has their NDI-HS3 camera available now. We've
yes,
spoken to other PTZ camera manufacturers this whole month. You know, it is NDI November after all, and we are going to see a lot more of the NDI HS3 products coming down the pipe. There will be some cameras that are already out in the field that do get upgraded. There will be other cameras that get introduced with the new NDI HS3 spec. And it's great to hear guys like you who are out there installing these systems speak so highly about it because it does show you how far along this NDI technology has come and how NDI HX has brought that high efficiency model to a point where it is being recommended by engineers like yourself in real world installs as not something that is less than, but just different than. And just as the NDI-HX platform is being developed, the full NDI platform is being developed as well. And with that, we're up to NDI version 5. Kevin, have you had a chance to play with NDI 5?
Yeah, I have a good story about NDI 5 and what it brought out. At NDI 5, there was the release of NDI Bridge.
Okay. Yep.
And NDI Bridge is actually for the Canton schools, city school television. That was what allowed them to bring all their different campuses together, right? So NDI Bridge is what. Yeah, there we go. That's a great slide. It's how they bring all their sites together, and the why I say it came out just at the right time, right before we started working on Canton schools. I had another client who wanted to do a podcast from out of Florida, but have their headquarters is in Chicago. Now, prior to NDI 5, I'm like, man, this is, it's going to take a lot of gear or it's going to be expensive. And then all of a sudden, as we're having that conversation, new tech drops NDI Bridge.
Yep.
And within a couple weeks, when it was fully mature, we were able to deploy that, get that podcast up and running, get that studio up and running. And it saved the client thousands of dollars. He already had a PTZ camera down in Chicago. We sent it down to Florida. We set up the NDI Bridge and, up and running, no problems. And what the one thing to consider about NDI tools and NDI Bridge, I hate to say it, but all the good stuff is on Windows. Okay. So NDI Bridge only runs on a Windows machine.
Okay.
And all the cool stuff is on that. But for the Mac, the silicon chips on the Mac has been, if you're into post-production, has been a little tricky, but all the NDI tools available for the Macintosh will run on their silicon Macs.
Okay.
So I would just say that, with NDI Bridge, that's great. They also, with Tools 5.5 was released, they added an NDI router. So you can take any source as long as it's on, and route your sources to different NDI destinations. That was great. That was really cool. And one other thing I wanted to mention about NDI Studio Monitor has been there since day one, but that is like my go-to tool.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That should be on every engineer's machine because it's great. And if I want to squeeze in one more plug for NDI tools, something that most people aren't aware of that's on their website but aren't quite clear what it does, there's NDI analysis. It runs on Windows. They keep calling it a beta version, and I guess it still is. But if you are an administrator or you're deploying NDI or working with NDI in your facility, what NDI analysis does, you run it on a PC, it opens a command line window, and you just type in NDI, and you launch it, and it will go out and scan your network and find all your NDI sources.
That's great.
And it's a troubleshooting software, and you can find it all. If it can find it, it'll give you the IP, all that other wonderful things that you need to know as to why you're not seeing the video or your source. This will tell you. So it's one of those things, if you're doing NDI, it's great to have in your tool bag.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of these NDI tools that we're seeing get developed more and more as NDI matures. With NDI Studio Monitor, with the NDI analysis tool, being able to troubleshoot your network quickly and easily that way. Being able to call up your integrator like Keycode Media to come in and have them get onto the network and figure out exactly what's going on, what needs to be done. Kevin, I know Keycode has a huge history of working with broadcast production studios. You guys do a lot of these live production installs, but you're also a nationwide company. So when you're talking about NDI Bridge, I would imagine that people are reaching out to you not only to do the remote production, because maybe they've worked with Keycode Media in the past to do their broadcast and post-production workflows, but they're also reaching out to you because as a nationwide system integrator, if they're doing the podcast from Orlando to Chicago, there's a good chance that you have those engineering resources available in both locations to really kind of walk them through that whole step along the way. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have on both coasts, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. We have engineers available, and the way and even if, let's say, you can't get the local guy, you can talk to any one of us on our team, and get support and help, and we'll walk you through it. We're more than happy to share what we know with our clients and potential clients. That's what we're here for. We're not here for the sale. Well, of course, for the sale, but we're here to make to provide the best solution for you. That's our goal. We want to make sure that when we're done, your vision is what we gave you, and the experience and ease of use. Because we do a lot of turnkey, and that's the thing is most people want turnkey. A lot of times they don't have the engineers and the staffing to be able to maintain a lot of this back end work, and that's that's the way things have been going for quite some time. But that is really we want to be able that they're comfortable with the technology, that they're happy with the technology, and we leave them holding the keys to the car and being able to drive it off the lot, so to speak, when we're done.
Absolutely. And I think, what's important for our audience to realize too, for Keycode Media to be an award-winning new tech integrator year after year, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of education, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of certifications that go into that. So one of the reasons I always invite you guys to join us for NDI November is I know that you're putting that effort into the back end, and that's why you've always got these interesting case studies to share with us. Kevin, how much of what you guys do now in the live production space involves NDI? What percentage are you seeing that take over the workflows?
It's pretty dominant,
Is it?
honestly. I have a case, or not a case, but a client that I'm working with now that at the beginning it was more of a proposal. It's a government client, city of, and they're redoing their council chambers and a conference room on 2 different floors. And they asked us for a proposal on how to do that. Well, I went back and designed an NDI workflow because, it's going to be, it's easy, right?
You don't want to go crawling through and pulling the SDI cables?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. We gave them our proposal, and they looked at it, and they're like, why isn't this $1 million? I said, well, because it's NDI. They're like, well, we thought we had to run fiber and SDI and all this other things, and we said no. This is the NDI workflow.
Right.
We, in this case, and they sat down. They were still scratching their head because every other proposal had a whole SDI workflow. Sure. So I had to go through and explain it to them, and once the light bulb goes off and they fully understand what's going on, it just made sense. So where there's an opportunity to do NDI is introduced. SDI we know isn't going to go away, right. And there's absolutely always a need for that in many functions, deployments. But SDI is always like at the forefront when considering new designs, especially in schools, government, corporate, faith, faith-based churches. Every church basically has a TriCaster and NDI
Yep.
cameras. It's almost like rinse and repeat because it works so well for
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. And one of the things that's been a recurring theme that comes up through a lot of these seminars that we've been doing this month is when you're saving all of that money on the cabling and you're saving all of that money on the labor to go install all of that cabling, that's money that can be reallocated in the budget to create additional video sources, to set up multiple rooms, to create a dedicated studio room that the students can do their daily news broadcast from. So having that flexibility and the freedom in the budget also allows your customers to be a lot more creative in what they do. And I'm sure you've seen that kind of pop up time and time again, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. So now that we went with an NDI solution, now instead of maybe only having 4 cameras, we can do 5 or 6. Or instead of this particular model of video switcher, we can go with more inputs, whatever. It's exactly what you said. We can those now the budget can focus on some of the things that people tend to forget or underdevelop. Sometimes they're like, oh, we can't do this many microphones or this kind of thing. So the video production side gets a little easier, and then now some money can be moved towards the audio, because sometimes video to me is easy, but audio can get complex, and sometimes it becomes the thing that people forget about and how important it is and why we need to do it right. And so sometimes the audio budget gets stretched. Now here's a way to, we got the video taken care of. We saved a lot of money on this. Let's develop the audio and make that just as good as the video.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that we've talked to Tarif about also in his keynote address is we were talking about the future of NDI technology and some of the improvements we're going to see coming down the road from the audio routing path that will allow the audio to be integrated over an NDI network even better than it is today, and to help address some of those challenges that are there to give you a complete installation using the NDI technology that we talked about. Kevin, I really wanted to thank you for joining us. This was great. I really love hearing about all the great stuff that Keto Media is doing with NDI. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let you get back to your day. I do want to let our audience know that we have a full schedule packed for NDI November. Great, informative system integrator spotlights like we had with Kevin at Keto Media today, as well as being joined by all of our vendors who make NDI products and NDI technology. So tune in and be sure to register at ndinovember.com for your opportunity to win any of these great NDI products. Check out ndinovember.com. One registration gets you access to all of our webinars and to all of these great prizes. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our special guest at Keycode Media. You can reach out to them directly at keycodemedia.com or 818-303-3900. Have a great NDI November.
NDI November is going on all month long for all things NDI. Your one-time registration gains you access to all the informative webinars with great guests and tons of giveaways. Check out the full schedule and register at ndinovember.com. Giveaway prizes include BirdDog P100, JVC PZ200N camera, Telestream Wirecast Pro license, New Tech University class, and more. See all the giveaway prizes and register now at ndinovember.com.